Hey everybody, it's Metalhead Weatherman. Hopefully everyone's doing well. So at the time of this video, I'm going to be using the models that are up to date here. So we're going to finally get into that winter storm basics video here. I know this has been one I've been talking about doing for a little bit here, but weather patterns kind of got inactive, so kind of had to wait for a lull in the action. But for those of you that have been waiting, whether it's 5 of you, 10 of you, or more, appreciate your patience. But that being said, make sure you guys are smashing that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and obliterating that share button, especially if you're enjoying this playlist that I've been trying to make here. Still a work in progress, still a lot more to cover on there, but we'll do the best we can. Like I said, we're really just going into the basics here, but we are going to get into the ingredients that create winter storms. So the three ingredients in particular that we always will look for with winter weather setups will be cold air, moisture, and lift, or as I like to call it, CML. Not CDL, but that's a great way to think of it too. But cold air, moisture, and lift. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before in previous videos. I'm pretty sure I have, but just in case. With cold air and moisture, it's a very interesting dynamic that goes on between these two. You're not going to be looking at this like a severe weather event where you're looking for dew points that are about 55 degrees Fahrenheit and dew points and up. You're actually going to be looking for a little less than that. You're still going to want a moisture return because without that, obviously, you can't even get water vapor that would even be able to freeze to begin with. But the interesting dynamic between the cold air and the warm air is as the cold air rushes in, it usually will end up drying out the atmosphere. So you already have to have that moisture in place and enough of it to where it's not completely just driven off by cold air. So it's a tricky dynamic with winter storms. They're very hard to predict because partially by this reason alone. And then of course also lift. So getting into things here, what lift is basically a great way to identify lift would be looking at these contour lines or isobars. No real preference on which one, no discrimination on what you want to call them here. Me personally, I've always called them more isobars, even though they're technically contours. But if we were to look at this here, where you see these lines spaced apart like this and the numbers near them, this has moderate levels of lift. But if you start to see these lines tighten up, like what we'll see as we go further down the line with this model run here, that's when you'll see that increased amount of lift. And this is a quintessential component in both winter weather and severe weather. Like if you were to look at this right here, if a strong enough low pressure were to form with this, could get some wraparound snow on the backside, and we actually will, mainly towards Canada, and we'll get into the moisture side of things as well. But for the most part here, it's not going to be, the cold air is not going to make it in time for a lot of these areas over here towards the northeast in the short term. So to start out the week, there may be a couple of pockets where we get snow, but most of this is going to looks like it's going to be rain to start out with. But of course, we know that cold air can be mysterious as well as moisture returns. So got to still take it with a grain of salt, even at this shorter notice. Nonetheless, still plenty of time for things to change. So as we continue to go forward here, we watch some of our next storm systems form. So the first one that I'm watching here, you start to see the beginnings of a low pressure system trying to get going here. Here's a little bit of troughing to go with it, but the cold air is still kind of more so to the north here, so we would have to watch this system. But the trough isn't very impressive here, so I wouldn't be too concerned with winter weather right now towards the Midwest and towards the deep south right now. It would be right around this region. The reason we're able to tell that on this map is because of this one number right here, the 540. The 540 line is synonymous with the 32 degree line. Anything obviously that we know is above 32 degrees is above freezing. 32 is the freezing point, and anything below 32 degrees, of course, will freeze. And that is exactly what this 540 line is. It's the 32 degree line. So anything that will be behind this, if we get any sort of moisture, a decent bit of lift with this, we could see some snow. To what severity is still within question, because there's multiple types of snow that end up occurring within winter storms. You can have snow showers, you can have snow squalls. Those are the ones that you definitely need to look out for. And then you get snow flurries. We all know which ones that are mainly the culprit for accumulation. It's more so snow showers and snow squalls. But snow flurries at times can cause short-term like really quick accumulation, but usually it's those showers that you want to look for. But with this setup here, we can get snow showers with it, but it's going to be short term at best. But here's what I really have been watching lately, and I've been mentioning this in the last couple of forecast videos. I think this storm system right here is going to really start to get itself organized as we go further forward with this model run here. And what we see clearly is with this little contour circle right here, this is going to be an area of low pressure. You can see it also indicated by this trough here. What we'll be looking for is around the back side of that, if we get a good moisture return. On the northwest side, that's where we're likely to see some snowfall begin to occur here. And we'll see this kind of persist as it continues to go up to the east. Right around that northwest side here, and maybe on the northern flank of that low pressure is where we'll see some of that increased chances for snowfall. Then we see another system behind that. Notice the 540 line is not there, so chance of rain is more so higher towards this region. May have to watch this even for severe weather and seeing how this develops, because of course we're 219 hours out based on the run that you're seeing in the video. But that's one way to look at things. And then also a good way to look at things as well is through the vorticity map. Vorticity map is one of my favorite maps to actually look at. It's good for indicating winter and severe weather, especially during this time of year. I don't use it as much during the spring and the summertime, mainly because it can be a little bit troublesome in a way. Because usually you can still see everything else with the jet stream map here, the height dam map here, so to speak, at 500. But pretty much you can see the same look, and you get a better idea of spin with this. So it really just depends on the scenario in which I use this as to what I use this for. One thing that I am interested in regards to this map here, of course, this is kind of making me wonder if there could be a chance of severe weather towards the end of next week. But of course, I'm not going to read in too far to that, because obviously we're talking about winter weather anyway, and this isn't a forecast video. But that's just using using this more so as an example as to how to use it, so to speak. But as we continue to go forward here, here's that system that we were just talking about around December 3rd and into the 4th here. You can see that vorticity really starting to strengthen here at this point. And there's that low pressure, and like I said, right towards that backside, towards that northwestern area. That's where I'm expecting to see some snowfall. It could even be some heavy snow from the looks of it too. It's usually going to be on that northwestern flank of the low where the snow ends up being heaviest. And we'll see this persisting even as we go towards the end of that weekend into the following. And of course, as we continue to go on, the storm pattern, as we've been talking about here, if you've been watching the recent videos, it's going to be pretty active. So no real surprises there, that we'll see maybe a couple other systems ahead here. Here's one that might affect the Great Lakes, and maybe could even turn on the lake effect machine if we can get some cold air in place. But it doesn't look like in the short term that's going to happen. We're going to start to warm up just a little bit. Here's another system to watch. Again, maybe towards the end of this run, if this trend holds here, the lake effect machine will take place. Lake effect snow, I should say. That actually will be another video, as well as blizzards and ice storms, because these are all very unique in their own specific ways. So I'm not going to turn this into a 15-minute video, because that's probably what would end up happening, knowing my luck. But this is pretty much the best way to use the velocity map, or at least it is for me when it comes to pointing out winter weather. So next thing we can look at, of course, is the height anomaly. This kind of gives us an idea of where the cold air is going to be, the cold air masses, I should say. And as we continue to roll forward here, we'll kind of see that become a little bit more prevalent as we go forward. Here's where our cold air setup is in the short term. This is 24 hours out from right now at the time of this video. See that warm air mass right there? That fizzles out, and then we see these next couple systems coming into play here. Here's the first one, a little weaker, not as much cold air prevalent, but look what happens with this one. Look how deep that cold air ends up getting here. This ends up being a really well-rooted system with cold air in the center of it. So it's a cold core setup, which is perfect for snow. And then, of course, right towards that western back half, you can get some good wraparound moisture. Right behind that, you get some snow. And then there's another system right behind that. Warm air or some ridging begins to happen here, which usually is a better indicator for fair weather, but it allows this system to get going next, and that's going to be something to watch. Could even become a coastal storm depending on the track that low pressure takes. So a lot of moving parts with the forecast right now, so it's still going to be very questionable as to what happens next, but business is picking up as we've been talking about in the last few videos. So next thing we can do is look at the dew points here. I don't know why we're not on that map already, but if we go ahead and let this load, which is just about done doing, we'll kind of get to see exactly what we're talking about here. This is a moisture nose right here, for example. You notice how the moisture kind of spikes up and surges up to the north a little bit here. What we want this moisture to do if we're looking for a winter storm is for it to interact with the low pressure center. So right now there isn't really much in the way of low pressure right now that's really going to be able to take advantage of this, nor is there really a moisture nose or a moisture surge right now. But as we go towards the 30th and into the 1st, here's that first moisture nose, but that cold air is not in place. By the time that cold air does start to kick in, a lot of it's going to end up being too far behind. A lot of this cold air is going to end up being too far behind the moisture here, and as a result, not going to really see much in the way of winter weather. It's going to be a different story on the following storm system behind this. Watch this. So here's that. You can actually see the area of spin right here. You see those dew points being pretty dry, about 20 to 30 degrees dew points, but out ahead of it, you can see that dew points are towards the 40s and the 50s. Once you get into the 30s and the 20s, it's usually where you would get a little bit more of the drier snow. Drier snow accumulates more so than wet snow, of course. But right where that low is starting to spin, you get a nice little get a nice little influx of moisture right there, which will help increase the snowfall rates, especially off to the north here. So as a result, as this continues to go on, we could see a swath of heavy snow here possibly as we go towards next Sunday and further beyond that. So definitely that storm system is going to be one I'm watching closely. And then as we continue to go on here, we may see a couple other systems doing a very similar thing. Here's another area of spin, not really much in the way of a moisture nose to go with that right now. This, and really at this point, nothing else right now really catches my eye in the same manner as that system on the 4th. It's a pretty good example, but you know, let's go ahead and go a little further and verify the hypothesis here. Weather is largely science, so we're going to be trying to go by the scientific method and proving our proving the hypothesis here, or verifying it, whichever one you want to call it. But here's our first system here. Get decent lift, but you don't get any cold air there. The cold air is the moisture outruns the cold here. You do get a little pocket where you could see a little bit of snow here, but for the most part, like I said, classic case of moisture outrunning the cold air. And then watch what happens with this one. Timing with this looks a lot better, and as a result, we end up seeing this look right here, right towards the north and northwestern side. That's where we can see some of that heavy snow possible here. And I think this could be even underdone by the model here if this trend holds, because like I said, over a week out, a lot can change. But fact of the matter is, we're seeing a pretty consistent look here in regards to the moisture being in place and coinciding with that cold a lot, and the lift being in place in such a manner to where we could get some pretty notable snowfall amounts over here towards the north, toward the northern tiers of the Midwest, I should say. And then as we continue to go on, we watch that storm move off to the north here, this surface low, and we'll see maybe a little bit more snow towards the Great Lakes. Interesting thing to note here is that the 540 line is here, and this is still being shown as rain. Could be some warm air aloft in the middle of the atmosphere here. So could see a mixture of sleet, could see a mixture of snow. So all the details of this will get hashed out as we draw closer to the event, because I mean, look where we are right now. We're almost 200 hours out. So like I said, can't put much validity into the event. Models often tend to be a little bit sketchy after about maybe 72 hours, honestly. And even then, they could still fail within that time frame. So that being said, something to keep an eye on here. But as we continue to go forward here, see multiple storm systems coming in after that point. And here's another textbook example right here, although it looks like the lift, no, it's actually pretty good right here. But the moisture return may be a little more questionable. But usually with these northwestern setups that end up pushing east, usually they'll have enough moisture from the Pacific to where they can contain enough within the low pressure to maybe produce snow. Of course, it's still a toss-up as to whether that actually happens or not. But then also, if you look at this setup right here, 342 hours out, this is the case where you can get some little wraparound moisture and just a little bit of cold air here that can spark off some snow flurries here. This would mainly be towards the mountain ranges here around the Appalachians in particular. But outside of that, wouldn't expect much in the way of flurries anywhere else towards the valley, so to speak. But that's pretty much all I got for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully it made sense. I really hope it did. I feel like I did decent with this at the very least. But if you guys liked it, you know what to do. Smash that like button, decimate that subscribe button, and obliterate that share button. And just let me know your thoughts. But this has been Tyler, Metalhead Weatherman. I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, take care, and I'll see you soon. Horns up.